You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. This was interesting. Musso put this in the show prep document earlier today, and it was a piece over at CBS Sports from Blake Brockermeyer, who, if you don't, that name may sound familiar. He was a former first-round pick as an offensive lineman of the Carolina Panthers back in 1995, which was the first year of that organization back in 95. And played for the Panthers and the Bears. Well, now Brockermeyer is a draft analyst and a scout, draft analyst for CBS Sports. And so he looked at the 6 quarterbacks that are replacing first-round picks. Of course, Caleb Williams went 1, Jaden Daniels went 2, Drake May went 3, Michael Penix, Bo Nix. Like we all know the list of quarterbacks that went in the first round. And he looked at essentially who is set up for success. J.J. McCarthy is the other one I missed, by the way, from Michigan. So who is set up for success based on their situation and the roster and their talent and all that for 2024. And he listed 2 as set up for major success. Number 1 was Dillon Gabriel at Oregon. Dillon Gabriel is replacing Bo Nix, who went 12th overall to Denver. And Gabriel had a great season last year, had his best collegiate season. Remember, he started his career at Central Florida, had an injury, ended up starting in Central Florida, then transferring to Oklahoma, where Oklahoma led him to a 10-win season last year. And in his 49 career starts, got 15,000 passing yards and 125 touchdowns in college. So you have a super experienced player who's going to a roster where, they were on the cusp a year ago, just ended up getting edged out by Washington in the Pac-12 championship game. We know Bo Nix and Penix were both Heisman finalists. So he's walking into a situation with a talented roster and great opportunity to succeed. I am skeptical about the teams going from the Pac-12 into the Big Ten because you are stepping up dramatically in competition week in and week out, so file that away. Number 2 on the list, he's got Garrett Nussmeier. And it might surprise you a little bit. I know our inclination is to say, well, the Nuss Bus, right? As Terrio said here for years, dumpster fire for Nussmeier. saying like basically fail for Nussmeier in the draft. But he's a guy who still hasn't started but the bowl game this past year. He's been around for 3 seasons, now going into his 4th, but this is a guy who just hasn't played a ton. But Brockermeyer notes that Nussmeier could become a first-round pick in 2025 given the talent he'll have around him offensively and just the physical ability. So those were the 2 that he has set up for major success. The next batch he has are the wild cards, and the first name of the wild cards is the quarterback LSU is going to see in the opener, Miller Moss from USC, who's replacing Caleb Williams. And it continues to be really interesting to me, the parallels with LSU and USC. And there are many. And probably at the top of the list is this. The last 2 Heisman Trophy winners, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. They're off to the NFL, the number 1 and 2 overall picks in the draft, and they're being replaced by Nussmeier and Miller Moss. The difference is Nussmeier is a 4th-year player, and Miller Moss is essentially going to be a redshirt junior, effectively the same situation. We've got young, talented guys behind him. How much experience did he gain last year backing up Caleb Williams? He did start the Holiday Bowl like Nussmeier, 377 and 6 touchdowns. It's really interesting how parallel they are. But the biggest difference probably between the 2 is the supporting cast around them. When you look at the strength of LSU's team being its offensive line, the amount of talent they still have in the receiver room, I would give the edge at play caller, certainly play caller coordinator to Lincoln Riley. I mean, that doesn't really feel like it's going on a limb. Joe Sloan is entering his first year as LSU's offensive coordinator. Lincoln Riley he's produced Heisman Trophy winners throughout his career, certainly before he got to Oklahoma, at Oklahoma, and now at USC. So Riley's one of those guys that you give the edge to as far as developing quarterbacks and play calling, just because he's got more skins on the wall. But as far as the roster and the supporting cast top to bottom, the edge goes to Nussmeier. It's just so fascinating to look at these two programs. When you talk to people who cover USC, it's the same. It's the veteran quarterback who's waited his turn. It's the supporting cast. It's a terrible defense a year ago where you have a new defensive coordinator coming in where the talent in the secondary is not matched up. I mean, you could literally just listen to any conversation about LSU or about SC and just take the names off, and you could be talking about the same schools. So the Miller Moss, Garrett Nussmeier conversation really is going to be a fascinating one because both quarterbacks are going to be attacking new defenses, and whichever has a better day, respectively, in Las Vegas, probably going to win that game. The other names on the list, by the way, welcome back to the party, Max Johnson. Max Johnson is the projected favorite to replace Drake May at North Carolina to be the starting quarterback there. The other two, Will Rogers, who he notes the category of could see him get benched. Will Rogers is replacing the former Mississippi State quarterback, is replacing Michael Penix at the University of Washington. And then Alex Orji is replacing J.J. McCarthy with the University of Michigan. But he notes about those last two, or the last three, I should say, that it wouldn't be surprised if you saw them lose their job and get benched. So potentially, we'll see how that goes. But a lot of familiar names with the quarterback carousel as it spins. But Garrett Nussmeier, Miller Moss, the parallels are just uncanny with LSU and USC as they'll set to face each other. And LSU is about a touchdown favorite in early lines of that game out in Vegas. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.